Hey guys, good morning. Well, it's another day out in the shop, so that's always a good thing. I appreciate y'all coming back. So we're going to do a little bit more framework today. We're going to revisit our tank. Let's see how that turns out. Probably going to end up redoing it. I'm just going to be real honest with you. No tricks, just tell you how it is, and you know, let the chips fall where they may. So I did a base coat on that tank in POR 15. Now I like POR 15. I've used it, gallons and gallons of it, on frames and chassis and undercoating and in fenders and stuff. But honestly, I've never used it as a finish top coat. I've used it as a single stage, basically, on frame, suspension, that kind of stuff. It's always worked well. I've never had a problem with it. It's never lifted. It's never peeled. Never had any issues with chemicals, oils, or gas being spilled on it. So on paper, it looked like it was going to be a great product. They have a top coat series. They call it top coat, and it is, gas won't affect it. So it sounds like the perfect paint for a gas tank. I don't know what happened. Maybe I messed up in my application this time. Y'all watched me sandblast the tank. I got it down to bare metal. I did not use a primer because POR 15 kind of sells itself as a direct to metal paint. So I wiped it down with acetone and let it flash off or dry, and then coated it, and it wrinkled. The whole thing wrinkled. So I'm going to insert a picture of that. It's not good. The next day I saw it wrinkled, and I didn't even turn the camera on. It's like, this isn't gonna fly. We can do better than this. So I let it sit 2 days and really cure and level out, and it did actually look better on the second day than it did the first day, but it was still wrinkled, and what that means is the paint's like drawed up, and it's just covered in wrinkles. And I wanted a relatively smooth finish for my next step in this paint job. It needed to be smooth. So I thought about it, and I put it back in a sandblaster, and I started to sandblast it all off. And that POR 15, again, another reason I chose it, is really tough, and my sandblasting material media just wouldn't cut it. So I had to use a chemical stripper. So I coated it down with aircraft paint stripper and let it set 20 minutes, and I came back to it, and I'll insert a picture of that. It actually takes POR 15 off really good. I applied 2 coats to it, and the way I did that is I completely covered it with the aircraft paint stripper. I let it sit 20 minutes, and then I scraped it off lightly, not gouging the tank, with a paint scraper, just a flat metal blade paint scraper. You could probably use paper towels, but the edge of the paint scraper kind of pushes the paint and kind of breaks it loose once it's chemically loose. So I did that the first time, rinsed it off with water, brought it back in the shop. After getting all those, all that old paint off, I reapplied the paint stripper again. I let it set another 20 minutes. I used the paint stripper again. That got 99% of it off. It really came off really good. Wiped it again down with acetone. This time I went back with a primer, and I primed the tank. Now I did this with spray paint this time. I did not use any POR 15. I'm a little gun shy right now, until I can figure out what I did wrong, or maybe I got a bad can. I don't know. So I painted it black with a lacquer-based spray paint, and I let that sit 24 hours, and I came back and I painted it white. Y'all saw that the last video, little teaser there. And there's a reason why it's in this order, and you're fixing to find out. And it makes the top color look a lot brighter when you paint over white than versus gray primer or black or any other color. And then of course this is a 3-step process anyway, starting with black, going to white, and then the final coat is red. So that's enough talk. I know y'all want to see it and laugh and have a good time. If I like it, I'll turn around and do a single stage like automotive grade paint on it. Let's see how it turns out, and we'll go from there. I haven't seen it, so we're gonna find out fail or win together. So if it looks great, great. If it looks bad, well, it looks bad, and we'll do it again. So here we go. It's like Christmas present here. So here's my red 200x tank. We got our trusty pocket knife here in the pocket. And if anybody's picked up on my shirt that I'm wearing today, you may know where we're headed with the tank. I like the 80s. I think it's an era that needs to be repeated if possible. I see we got some bleed through, so we may have to make some adjustments on the next go around here. To be expected with spray paint. Big Van Halen fan. I like Van Halen. I like Motley Crue. I like Guns N' Roses. Favorite band's Journey, though. That's number one. I don't know why. I really can't tell you why. It's just always been my favorite. Now the story goes, and I did do some research on this actually before I jumped off on this. Eddie Van Halen, by the way, which we lost this year, which is a tragedy. The story I read on this, there's a guy that's got a video that's amazing. He should solve crimes for police departments. This guy is detailed. He went back and pulled all the old concert footage of Eddie and the guys in Van Halen, and he watched his Stratocaster get painted, the same Stratocaster get painted several times. And so there's several carnations of the Frankintrike. It was painted originally black, I believe is what he started with. This original black guitar. And then he came and he painted it. It was black with white stripes. And so the story goes is when he was on tour and bored, he would paint his guitar, modify his guitar. There's not much Stratocaster left to that guitar from what he started with. But the paint job was crude. It was gaffer's tape, which is tape they use for setting up microphones and studio or concert equipment. So there was gaffer's tape, which is like a, it's got a tape to it. It's got thread in it. So the lines aren't going to be crisp. It's not going to be like painting a car. The lines are going to have little bleed throughs and imperfections, if you will. Because what he did is, so they say, and like I said, this is this one guy's documentary he basically did. He said that Eddie actually cut the tape down to make thinner pieces, or tore the tape. And apparently that tape, when you tear it, it will tear in a straight line. So that's how he got the straighter lines, by tearing the tape or cutting the tape, because of that type of particular tape. And I don't think Eddie set out with that tape. I think that's just the tape he had available. So when he was bored and wanted to change his guitar up for the next show, this is what he did. The Frankintrike, my understanding, is probably been painted at least 3 times. It was black, it was black and white, it was black and yellow, which there's not a lot of talk of the black and yellow, but there's a black and yellow version of that same guitar. Now, I've never tried this pattern before. I just looked at a picture and kind of went for it. In the 200X, it actually, the colors work really well. The chassis being red, the engine being black, and then the original colors, the tank was originally white. So it would look like, technically, you could have started with a white tank. Now, because I've seen a couple other guys do this, and not on tanks, painting other guitars. And there's actually a method to the madness. The layers are this order on purpose. One, I think the red is brighter when you paint over white than versus the black, and then it's less taping off this way. If you would have tried to tape off each individual line with 2 outside lines and then paint the middle, you would have had to paint twice as much. Or tape off twice as much, excuse me. See, we got some tape residue, which is interesting. The tape residue is the coming off the blue painter's tape. Trick is going to be to get that off without messing up the tank. I'd like to clear coat all of this. I'm going to try to make it somewhat paint resistant. It's not going to be. You're going to have to be careful with it. Spray paint just isn't that good. All right, I think she's going to clean up just fine. Trying to make sure I got it all off. Alright, so we'll have a black cap, we'll have a black seat to come up here, we'll have our two red wings on either side. I think that's close. What do you think? Pay a little tribute to probably going to be remembered as one of the best guitarists of all times. Let's see how it looks on the bike. Alright guys, there's our 200XE. He's coming along. And there's the tank. I like it. I think it's just enough. I think once you put that black seat against it and the black cap on it, y'all tell me, how'd I do? Not too bad from a picture. This is Three Wheelers with Bob Ross. We have some happy little lines on our happy little 200XE tank. Alright, well I'm going to hit pause. I got some other things to do, but now we want to make sure we get this pipe in here deep enough and plenty of meat to weld to. I'm going to go ahead and eliminate this upper mount. I'm not going to be able to use it. It's going to just be too close to try to get in here with the starter. We are going to use the lower mount, and I'm going to try to tie into the front two mounts on the engine side. So it'll be one or two on the engine and then one down here in the frame. We're going to take both of these off, clean this up. Going to move this down just a little bit for our pipe to have plenty of room. I think we'll be in good shape. just want a little bit of edge here on this left side, or the left way I'm looking at it, right side of the bike. I just want a little bit, because this is where I'm going to put my weld at. I'm going to follow it all the way down, all the way around. And then I wanted to go ahead so I can mark it here and cut off just what I need. That's hot. I'm going to cut it right here again on the long side. And then trim it at the top too. But as you see, you've got a nice fish mouth there, I think is what they call that. It's all the way around. Just got a nice uniform gap to it. I'm going to trim this down, and then we're going to tack it in place with just one little tack. And we're going to set the motor back in it and make sure we clear. That pipe's pretty thick. Hopefully it's not too thick. We'll see. Did a couple of improvements to the shop. I had to say goodbye to some shop speakers. It's the radio's fault. It's not my fault. It really isn't. They played Kickstart Your Heart, and when I hear Kickstart Your Heart in the shop, my neighbors hear Kickstart Your Heart in the shop. And unfortunately, this time at 11, those speakers give up. So we had to put some new ones in. There we go. We stepped on up to some 12s this time. Hey, don't get the wrong idea, it wasn't that loud. My neighbors are really far away, so it's different. It's not like I'm sitting on top of them. So here we are. We got our piece of pipe in, it cleared. We did straighten it out a little bit, but that's the clearance we have off the starter. You can see all the way through there in between behind it. It's close. It's close, but it is not touching anywhere. I'm really happy about that. Went ahead and put the bracket on, that way we would know the orientation of the electrical connection. You can rotate this part of the starter. You can loosen it up and index it or clock it and then tighten it back down, but this is the way it is from the factory. So that worked out really well. Once I weld this in, finalize it, I'll probably grind some more of this down to give me just a little bit more space off of this electrical connection. Just peace of mind. But that's it. That's in. That is in. I wish I could say that was the last time, but I'll have to pull it out again. We got a upper motor mount works. We still have to make that lower front. We'll save that for another day. But we got our tank in. It's our tribute, if you will, to the great Eddie Van Halen. All right, guys. As always, thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. I appreciate it. Another weekend spent out in the shop. And y'all take care, and we'll see you in a couple days. Bye.